Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I've got my awesome special guest, Sarah Adkins. How are you doing, Sarah?
Hello. It's good to be back.
Yes. Sarah has been on multiple shows, including this one. She's been on, I think the last time she was on for this one for 31 Days, we did Glorious, which was the Glory Hole movie. So that was fun.
Yeah, I
Uh,
actually I remember that. Was that like the old like Rambo-esque like one, or was that a different one?
No, that was the glory hole one. That was the one where the haunted glory hole where
Oh,
the
that one.
demon
Okay. Because okay, I
and
remember that one.
and the
Yep.
other one for like another 31 days of indie horror that I
Mhm.
remember was the ghost of
Hmm.
Goldfield or something
Yes,
where
I do remember that one. Yeah, I totally forgot about the movie with the glory hole monster, like god deity type thing. That one is actually pretty funny.
that was pretty funny. But this one, Hansel and Gretel Get Baked, was your pick actually because I gave you a pick an option of a few of them.
Yeah, I just
And
figured like one of the options was vampires. Like we do vampires all the time. I was like, I don't normally watch stoner movies, but I was like, I like Hansel and Gretel. I was like, let's do something fun. Because I like to play on words too. I'm a very punny person, so the let's get baked. I was like, yeah, this could be funny. So I'm glad I chose that one.
I was just sad that Hansel apparently wasn't a stoner. How sad. Like I
Uh,
wanted
I
him to
was
be a stoner
actually,
too.
I was very disappointed at Hansel's role in the whole movie. I feel like instead of Hansel and Gretel, it really was just Gretel,
Yeah, it was a
Gretel and
Gretel
friends.
like solo movie. Yeah, like that should have been the Gretel gets baked. But
Right.
where it was really like she had a boyfriend named Ashton, which like it didn't, he other than to like start the story along, or whatever and stuff, he was I mean, I don't know. His character was kind
It's
of
basically Gretel and her boyfriend get stoned. He goes to buy more pot. He goes missing. Weird shit happens.
weird shit
While
happens.
Hansel's just running around, coming and going, wonder where my sister is.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, Hansel's not even doing that for like you don't see him until like
no, he's not in a whole lot of the movie.
so like he shows up in the beginning and kind of scolds, her for being a pothead and
Hmm.
everything. And then when the boyfriend goes missing and everything, and she says she's gonna go find him, and she kind of gives him some information. Um, he he doesn't, or does he originally go? I'm trying to remember. Does he originally go with her?
He originally like takes her over there, and they don't stay for very long though. And then when she goes back, he goes and tries to get her. So he did go with her because he was parking the car the first time, and then he popped in and took her home.
Yeah, when she was like frantically freaking out about the fact that
Yeah.
he was that Ashton was missing, and there there was like one weird bit where she, was like, you're not being very supportive, and she like walks off, and he's like, you're adopted. And I'm
Yeah.
like, um, wait, is that true? Like, was that
I feel like that's just one of those mean sibling jokes that you tell
hmm.
the other sibling.
I was thinking that, but like like, the- because I don't
Considering
know
there was
enough.
no follow-up context about it, I'm assuming he was being a mean brother.
That's what I would say, yeah. So, all right. So yeah, so there was some stuff in the beginning of the movie, by the way, I did not realize that was Carrie Elwes. Did you?
I saw him in the IMBD, but then I wasn't sure who he played. Was it in the beginning?
He was the meter man.
Okay.
So in the
Because I know
beginning,
there was another actor who played one of the cops, the male cops later, who was in a bunch of movies.
scary
I can't remember his name.
movie and
Yeah, scary movie stuff. I
he-
recognized him, but I saw Carrie in the IMBD, but I couldn't place where he was, so maybe I missed that part.
but do you ever watch like Princess Bride and stuff like
Well,
that?
yeah, I
Yeah.
know who he
Like,
is.
so
I
you
saw
knew
him
who he
at a
was.
con once. Yeah. So that's why I seen him do stuff recently. So I kind of know what he looks like now. So I was kind of looking for him, but Also, since like maybe my attention was diverted just at the right moment, or maybe I just didn't realize it was him.
I didn't realize it was him at first either. I had to like because I looked on the IMDb and it said
Hmm.
Meter Man. So I was like, is he the guy in the beginning? So I went back and looked at it and I was like, yep, he's the guy in the beginning. And I'm like, good God, it must have been just a quick paycheck, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
right. They wanted a big name in there, but didn't want to pay him very much.
Well, they had a couple big names, which was very shocking. So they had Carrie Elwes in the beginning,
Hmm.
the first kill basically, which you don't really see. It's like off camera kill. He gets like sucked in by the dog, I guess. Because like wasn't a dog kind of go and
Yeah,
like
because he was trying. Okay, I remember. Oh, I remember the guy you're talking about now. I didn't even realize that was him.
that was
Yeah, because he was checking the stuff around the house and then
the
saw the
meter,
girl
yeah.
farm inside for the water meter. I was thinking car meter. I was like, I must have missed a meter bead with the cars, like the water meter guy. Okay, yeah, because he saw the
Yeah.
grow house, stuck his phone in there to try to take a picture, which you don't stick your arm in a space like that. Yeah, and he got pulled
No.
pulled in, and
You
it could have been the dog. It could have been her. You know.
I don't know. But what I also noticed when I went back there was the cat in the beginning of the movie because at the end of the movie you see
Hmm.
the cat and you don't see the cat the rest of the time, right?
You're right. I was confused about like the cat and the ending. So the cat was in the beginning too.
Yeah, so the cat was watching the meter guy, at
Ooh,
on a
little
windowsill.
small subtle like thing.
Well, and so going back and looking at that, I go, oh shit, that
Hmm.
actually ties with the ending of the movie where because I don't ever see the cat again, so it made no sense to me why there was a fucking cat, like
Yeah.
that she was a cat. Like, I guess it didn't matter because like even if they didn't show that, like you could just be like, okay, witches, cats, maybe like whatever, those
Right.
are familiar.
Right. And the ending still confused me. Which I don't know if we're gonna get into that now, but the ending with the cat and her being the cat and getting away, that all still was a little bit like, wait,
Well,
what?
she should have died from the fucking fire and shit.
Right.
Like that made
Right.
no sense. I
That made
didn't
no sense.
I think they were setting up for a potential sequel idea or something,
Hmm.
but it didn't work for me at all. Then yeah, that was one star was
Yeah, because you were
Carrie
talking about the
Owens.
cast and the budget seemed like they spent a good amount of money on this movie.
Well, probably a good amount came to the cast because Laura Flynn Boyle was in like Twin Peaks, I believe, and a bunch of
Hmm.
other big stuff. So she was a big name, and they didn't have her for like one day, I don't think. They had her for at least a week, because maybe, I mean, maybe a couple days, but they would have literally shot all of her scenes back to back to back to back to back because
Right.
she was in. But the beauty of it is she's in like basically one location the whole time, so they don't really have to like bring her to a different set or something,
Right.
and
Right.
everything. She just had to stay put and stay in that one house, and then I'm sure she had fun because she got to play young and old, and older than she actually is. So I was like,
Yeah.
that's Laura Flynn Boyle. Damn, she hasn't aged very well, and then I find out it's like makeup, I
Oh, of
guess,
course. Yeah, they
because
got to make
yeah,
her look old.
they made her look old so that later they can make her look young again,
Yeah,
or
she's got
whatever.
to, eat the youth, you know,
You suck up all that like people's like youth, I
their
guess.
soul
Yeah.
energy or whatever, their life forces. And
Yeah.
apparently made some of them like zombie creatures.
Well, no, I think she made them that, but we that's never fully
Right, 'cause that's what I'm
explained,
saying. Like
which
I don't know how she made them that way. Because I know she ate some, like sold the youth from some, but like when she turned the drug dealer into a zombie guy, I was like, oh, how did she do that? When did she do that? But
I don't think
no.
they didn't show that, which is another thing of like this is sort of annoying. Just like they don't show a couple things, like they don't show how she escaped the fire. They
Hmm.
just assumed you figure, like whatever. And like it doesn't make any sense. So
Right.
it confuses me.
And
Uh,
that's the thing with the world of magic, though. They're like, well, there's magic. Magic shit
yeah,
happens.
yeah. I mean, which sucks then because that means like that literally means you can never defeat somebody if all if
Well,
the
Jason.
Well, I mean,
There
see,
are people
okay,
that never get defeated.
right, and when they come back, they usually come back from something. Like
Right.
Jason came back
A lot of
originally from like in part 6 or whatever, he got like a electricity shot through something like a
right. It's usually a phenomenon or a summoning spell, or they're just invincible, or a wish or something.
yeah. And so in this situation, if she is like frying, and then she can just disappear and become a cat and get away,
Right.
then like you can't stop her, and so it's no
Right. I
fun.
feel like throwing her in the crematorium was just a throwback to the original Hansel and Gretel because they pushed her into the
I
oven
was
when
waiting
she was
for
trying to
that.
eat them. So I guess that's what that was them theoretically pushing her in the oven, like in the fables, was them pushing her in the crematory fire was basically the metaphor for that.
And I
Um,
I was waiting for that because it's called Hansel and Gretel Get Baked, and I was like, oh, the witch's ass gonna get baked, right? Like, oh man, just like the story, and it happens, and I'm so excited, and then it's like, oh, it didn't
then
matter.
they undo it. Then they
Yeah,
undo it.
then it's like then
And
it
what
didn't
I
matter.
thought was funny is they pushed her in going forward like on her hands and knees, right? And
Mm.
then when they showed it again, it was her face in the fire screaming, looking back at you. And I'm like, how? How is she facing the wrong way? How'd she turn
I
around in there?
I don't know. That
That
was
stuff always
crazy.
gets me because I know I'm like, my brain is bad on that, where I think of like reality and like plausible things in a movie that is magic. I'm like, there's no way in that hot fire burning up, she was able to turn around and face the other direction to scream at them. But,
Yeah.
also there's no way she could have gotten out and turned into a cat either. So,
Yeah, we're thinking too much in a movie called Hansel and Gretel Get Baked.
yeah. And I feel these movies, especially like the stoner ass movies or any bot movie, is best to do while you're baked yourself.
Right. I mean,
Um,
that's supposed to be the point, I guess. So
I think
just
they're funnier that way. Um,
I don't smoke myself, so I
I
don't.
really don't either. It's not legal where I'm at, so uh otherwise I think it probably would have been funnier because it did have some moments in it, but a lot of the moments were like, really? Really? It was
Yeah.
that chuckle funny of you just did that.
Uh-huh.
Go on
Uh
about the cast though.
yep. And then as you said, Lachlan Monroe, who
Mhm.
played in Scary Movie, and he was in Dead Man on Campus, which is one of my favorite, also another stoner comedy. So I think he was there for like 1 or 2 days because he only had 3 or 4 scenes.
Yeah,
I'm
he wasn't in it very long, and it was funny how like they got shot, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, thank God for Kevlar, they're just fine.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. God, I even forgot
Fine,
about that.
you're fine.
Oh fuck. Like what is the point of like doing anything cool? Like, cause
You're gonna
and
undo
then just undo it.
it. Yeah.
Like, I thought that was fucking cool. Like, you just shot the cops.
She
She's
was
and then
gangster. She just opened that door and straight up went, duh, duh, no cops.
no cops. The done
No cops.
story. And if the, and then the Kefler or whatever, why didn't they get back up and just come back out after her? Like, why did they
Right.
wait till the end of those?
Yeah.
Because the story demanded that we know, like, that we don't see them till the end so that we can go, oh, they're alive. You know, like, it's stupid. It was
Yeah.
dumb. Like, look, once again, I'm getting mad about a movie called Hansel and Gretel Get Big. But like, I was I was like kind of frustrated with that ending and all that stuff with
Right.
the ending
Because
period.
like overall, like I said, the cast is actually pretty cool. I
Yeah.
think the graphics and the like the gore in it, like the murders and stuff, they actually pulled off really well, like graphically, visually, and like it didn't really look too cheesy, but it looked actually like they had a good budget. It's just the script could have used a few tweaks. But I do feel again it's a stoner movie, so you kind of get what you get.
hmm Yeah, and I love how well, and the other thing is, okay, so is she immortal?
I think it's because she has to stay young by consuming the souls or the life essence to stay young.
I get it,
Um,
but is she immortal?
yeah, I they didn't really make that clear though, like whether or not she could be killed.
Didn't they kill her at one point? Like I don't think they chopped off her head, but like they chopped
Yeah,
off some.
because the girlfriend of the drug dealer broke her neck.
Yeah, broke her neck.
And then she just came back to life. And also that could just be the whole magic thing of she is a witch. It can
But
be hard to kill a witch, you know?
it just makes it no fun. Like
Right? There
it
are no rules apparently. And then it
yeah,
was funny that she did mention she's German. She's from Germany. And I think there's a little bit of like in a lot of horror movies, there's a little bit of Naziness going on there with her too, though, because if you notice in the passport he picked up, it was like a World War II thing. So that could be where she's from originally, is that.
that could have been
Um,
fun to explore.
and she did mention that like the grow house was a old bomb shelter, so that was interesting too. But yet the other floor was an old morgue, so it was a morgue before and a bomb shelter.
I I call BS on this
Yeah,
house
yeah,
because like do you see how fucking big those things were? I mean, there's no
right.
way that's in that house, that small little
Yeah,
fucking
well,
house.
yeah. There's no way that's all underground in that particular house and like a neighborhood. And also, like if the water meter guy saw it through a crack and put his hand through it, wouldn't that mean the grow house was above ground and not underground?
Well, he saw some of it, right? Is my
Right.
my thought because when I re-looked at it and saw that, like I said, I even thought that same thing, but
I
then
want to see some blueprints for this lady's house here. But
I was like
again,
thinking the
magic.
actual row house stuff was downstairs, and then she kept some of the stuff upstairs that
Yeah.
were remember
Like I
because
said,
she
I think we're thinking way too much into the plausibility of
or the
where
plot
things are located in her house and stuff than
the
anything else.
the plot
And
of
like
the
I said,
movie
she's
that
magic, so maybe she had a magic spell that made the underground bunker a lot bigger than it should have been. Who
that's
knows? But
true.
she was feeding these crops like magic and people, it seemed.
Yeah, it was um but I want to tell you real quick. I got a
Hmm.
Lachlan Monroe story actually. I met him at Scare Care.
Hmm.
And he was super, super nice. Like I got a picture and an
Nice.
autographed picture, whatever with him and stuff like that, all that. And then so I asked him to come to my movie Scary Story Slumber Party, and he said, if he can make it out there, he definitely wants to, right? And blah blah blah. So I said, awesome, great, thanks. He didn't, so I didn't assume he would. I assumed he would get busy with stuff or whatever, but it was nice that he offered. Next
Right.
day, which was I think Sunday, right? It was the day like everybody kind of starts getting ready to leave. I'm walking around the celebrity room and I see him go, Jonathan. And I was like, hey. And he goes, how was your movie? How was your premiere? And I was like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, that's awesome. Sorry I didn't make it. And he told me he was upstairs, reading having to memorize a script, that he had to get ready for
Right.
Monday, when he went back to work, and
But
everything.
he remembered you and he called you out, and that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
no, that was awesome. And so I was like, man, this guy's the coolest dude. Like, and and I've always had that as a thing of like, that's that right there is like top tier celebrity, you know.
Right.
Next to him was Shalon Simmons from Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And she was interested to know everything. I invited her to, but definitely did not expect her to show up. She was super sweet and everything and whatnot too. But yeah, they like he said he had a movie and I was like, to me that's way more important. Like, like I gave them a copy, both of them a copy of my movie. So they're, they could watch it if they wanted to. They probably just
Hmm.
threw it away. Which is fine too. I don't, I always gave people like celebrities copies because with
Right.
my
It's good.
information and
Yeah,
shit because,
it's good
whatever.
social networking.
Yeah, I don't go, hey, you have to pay $10 for that, and shit. I
Right.
just give that shit for free because, that's yeah, it's networking there, like it's a way to just tell people and whatever. Maybe one day they'll watch it, they'll be like, what? And let me look at all these movies that people have sent me, or whatever, and mine's in that pile. I don't know. But probably not. It's like you ever see that movie Grind?
Which one?
The movie Grind? It's just G
I
R
don't
I
think so.
and it's a skateboard movie.
Oh
But
no, I probably haven't.
these kids give like they want to give the skater this tape, of
Hmm.
their stuff, right? And he it's called Sponsor Me. They want him to sponsor him. So they hand the manager, right, of the skater the stuff and said, hey, Jimmy asked us to give you this. And it was like, oh, great, thank you. And he opens up like the thing and like all of these
A
tapes,
ton
like
of them fall
a
out.
shit ton, like
Yeah.
it looked like a
Pretty
million, like
stereotypical scene in those older movies where it's like you're trying to get your tape for an audition or for a record label or for some company somewhere and they just have this massive dump pile or they're just like
yeah. And then he goes, and then he
trust me because when we promote the band and stuff like we're always giving out CDs and we're like man these are kind of expensive to make we should probably stop giving them out but it really is good networking.
well, it's also like once again, like what if there is that one person that sees it, or
Right.
whatever. But
Right.
there was a great moral of that story, right? And the moral of that bit was that the guy says to them, because they said, hey, can you give Jimmy the tape? Yeah, Jimmy really wanted us to see this thing. He's like, I can do that, but I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And he goes, look, hey guys, if you guys are really good skaters, just keep skating. Eventually somebody will find you, right? And that was to me was the, like just like, if you're a good filmmaker, keep going and making out films. Maybe
Yeah.
eventually somebody will find
Yeah, and
it,
either way, just follow your passion and your dreams. Like
Yeah.
don't depend on, somebody like discovering you. Just do your art, do it for you, and
Yeah,
if you make it, you make it. If not, you're doing it for yourself and for something you enjoy and love.
exactly. Um, so to go back to this movie, real quick. In so the first beginning of the movie sets up with everything with Hansel, Gretel, and Ashton. Then Ashton gets basically kidnapped, and his life force eventually gets sucked out of him or
Yeah, and
whatever.
there's a pretty brutal scene where she's got him strapped down and is cutting into him and eating parts of him, and because at first he tries to do the whole thing. Well, maybe if I seduce this old lady, she'll let me go, right? Maybe she just wants some, and then
Right.
she's like, "Oh, I want a piece," and then just eats him.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. And then what is it? And then we meet Manny and his girlfriend and Bianca, I think that was her name. And Manny you
They're
know
kind of jerks to her.
he's definitely a jerk and she just kind of goes with it or whatever and stuff. And she seemed to be like one of those people that like she kind of knew what she was doing, because she knew he was like sort of the head drug dealer
Right.
around
Right.
and stuff. So she was just kind of like she was with him, and everything for that. Except he's not the head honcho of
Oh
drug
no,
dealers.
definitely
No,
not.
no, we meet them later.
He screws that guy over, and then that guy goes looking for the old lady, and well, doesn't end well for him.
No, he gets turned into a zombie. You're right. And then the other guys, I kind of feel bad for the other guys too. But Uh, who, I mean, I don't feel bad, because they went there looking for trouble, they just fucked with the wrong old lady. Like you
They,
said, she
she
was
was selling her product on his turf, man. Like, got to be
she,
careful with that.
she
Too
didn't
bad she was
care.
a witch, and now they're all zombies. Who would have known?
Like, yeah, who thinks, oh man, that bitch must be a witch, you know?
Right.
But no. So anyway, so we meet Manny, and Manny is a jerk to her, and so, but he like gives her enough information, like where the place is and all this other shit, and so she goes to the house, or
And
whatever.
another key thing to notice, though, is that's when we see his girlfriend eating the Skittles, which is an indicator for something that happens later.
What happened later? Skittles?
They use the Skittles, like they show you her eating the Skittles and like feeding each other the Skittles during that scene,
Right?
because later, because she grabs the Skittles away from her, remember, and is like, ugh, and leaves. Well, she still has the Skittles. So later, when Gretel is needing to lay the breadcrumbs, like in the fable, to
Oh
find
yeah.
her way through the maze, she uses the Skittles that she yanked from, like drug dealer hoe,
Right,
and
yeah.
she actually places those as breadcrumbs. So that little scene, you may not notice or think anything importance of her taking the Skittles, but they use it for her breadcrumbs. It just happens to be the thing she has on her. And then, of course,
Yeah, because
when
they don't have
the
breadcrumbs
original
because
owner of the Skittles comes through, she eats them and they lose their way.
yep.
She can't help herself but eat the floor Skittles, I guess.
Yeah. Ew, gross.
Well, I mean, when you're high, you eat floor Skittles, right?
I never been that high ever.
I
My
mean, five
life.
second rule. I mean,
So I don't even like the 5 second rule, honestly. If anything
I have
touches,
cats. There's a no second rule.
I know, like for me, I don't care how clean your floor is, I'm not fucking eating off of it. Like if
I
if
don't.
something hits the floor and it's gonna be dirty, fuck. Nope,
Yeah.
nope, it's going in the
But yeah,
trash.
I didn't think the Skittles were gonna play a role into it until later. Then I was like, oh, got you. That's why they did that.
Yeah, that's smart foreshadowing. Which they didn't. I mean, we never would have guessed.
Yeah, and I tend to catch a lot of foreshadowing, but I wasn't anticipating the Skittles being used for something.
Oh,
I just
right.
thought it was product placement. I'm sure Skittles paid them money.
Really? You think so?
I mean, I normally, if a product is in something, either you pay them, you cover it up, or they pay you, right?
Yeah, usually you cover it up. So did they actually have? I don't remember it saying Skittles on the box.
No, I mean, it was a bag of Skittles, so like
Did it say
you could
Skittles?
see
Could
that.
you see it
Yeah,
Skittles? I don't remember
yeah,
it.
I think
But
so.
just nice.
I'll have
Oh,
to
there you
like
go.
I don't know if I'm invested enough to go investigate that, but I'm pretty sure it was just a regular bag of Skittles.
Regular bag of Skittles. They tasted that fucking rainbow.
I mean, she kind of tried to with the old lady.
I know. Oh man, she tried to seduce the old lady too. What's up
Well,
with
yeah,
all
because she was
these?
trying to distract her,
I
and then the
know.
old lady was just, oh, she was going in for it.
She was like, "You look very tasty."
And
Vanilla?
just so you know, I've only ever just kissed with women. I doubt that.
Yeah,
She was going for it.
she was going for it. But then and we meet the drug dealers later because they see that the lady that was the old lady that from Pasadena, which do you know what that's from? That's a
Well, I
song.
read the IMBD, and there actually is, it said that there was a goof where she said it was the Beach Boys, but it was not the Beach Boys. It was a song by somebody else.
I think it was Jan and Dean, if I'm
That
correct.
sounds about right. I read that in the IMBD where it had goofs. It's like the lady in Pasadena was a song by so and so, and they goofed up and said the wrong like artist
Yeah,
in the movie.
I think that if I'm correct, the Beach Boys did cover that song, you know? So in
Probably.
a way it's somewhat right because nobody's gonna remember Jan and Dean, the guys who did I think
Right.
Surf City and a couple other they did one of my favorite songs by them is called Dead Man's Curve
Hmm.
and Blink 182 covered it and that's where I discovered them is Blink 182 had covered Dead Man's Curve one day and did a really good job with it and they ended up was it saying it was Jan and Dean and I was like who? So I looked them up and I'm like oh they're like the wannabe Beach Boys, like they're the
Okay.
people who sort of kind of came in after the Beach Boys, but they had a couple hits, but you could tell what they were doing. They were trying to
Right.
be like the next Beach Boys.
Right. Follow the trend.
Yeah, I mean, you see this all the time, and sometimes it works,
Hmm.
and sometimes it kind of they kind of fall off the wayside. But when you see, Janet Dean had like hits like Surf City and Dead Man's Curve and I guess the old lady from Pasadena.
Yeah,
Um,
because I've never heard that song before.
yeah, I've
If I
heard it.
didn't see it on IMDb, I wouldn't have known the reference.
Let me let me double check on that because I'm gonna go on YouTube and just look up little old lady from Pasadena, and I bet it's gonna be if I'm wrong and I'm wrong, Jenna Dean. Yes, I am right. Well, yeah. So anyway,
But I guess Gretel didn't drive because she always had to have Hansel drive her to see the little old lady.
yeah. So did she? Because I thought at one
Yeah,
point she
because she
came.
waited for him to get home and she's like, I need you to take me to Pasadena to see a little old lady.
Right. And then the next time, remember when he comes and she's like captured and everything, and he comes to the house and he's like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah,
looking
I don't
for."
remember if the other lady took them. I don't remember if it showed how they got there.
That's what I'm saying. Because he comes to the house, knocks on the door, and she's like, "Oh God, it's oh
Right.
hi." Oh,
So
right?
she had
And
to have him drive her the first time, and the second time, I'm assuming the other lady, the other like chick she was with, drove.
no,
Uh,
that's right. Nope, nope, that's right. Because the other time, the girl said, "I've got a car. Let's go."
yes.
So that's
So yeah.
that's
So
right. Yeah.
Gretel did not drive.
So Gretel didn't drive. Yeah, that's right. But I would have liked it if she would have said, "Are you driving or I'm driving?" Kind of thing. And she goes, "Oh, I don't drive."
Yeah.
Because that would have been like a constant thing of
Clarify.
reminding us, the audience, that Gretel does not drive. I don't know why Gretel doesn't drive. Like why? I mean, other than that, the first time he has to take her there, and so I
Right.
guess it makes sense for later when she gets the ride again.
Maybe
You know,
maybe her brother had a car, but she didn't. You know.
but I don't know where they because okay, so I actually lived over by Pasadena.
Hmm.
I actually door dashed in Pasadena all the time because where I lived in San Gabriel, there wasn't a lot, going. So when DoorDash stuff came in, I hit it, and it would be usually, Pasadena, which is 5 minutes
Hmm.
away, from where I was
Yeah,
at.
I don't
So
I don't know if they ever said how far away they were, but it couldn't have been that far. I mean, why would you drive way too far out of your way just to go buy like weed from a little old lady?
I mean, if it was really good weed, I guess it was supposed to be like the best weed that they've ever had.
But also, like when they smoked it, they were seeing like music notes and basically hallucinating. So how was he able to safely drive, and how was she able to bake? Dude, I know if I'm somewhat messed up, either I cannot cook anything. I cannot
I thought the
think
whole
about
point,
cooking.
I thought the whole point of being baked was just chilling, not
It
doing a damn
depends.
thing,
It depends, but in this scenario though, when they smoked it, they were trying to just chill, but they were hallucinating the music notes because it was magical weed, and it was just that good. So it's like when she starts cooking and then he goes to get more and drives, I'm like, you were just seeing the music. How can you guys do any of this?
Yeah, magic.
Because I know that how hard it is to function sometimes. It's like, and if this is magical, like super witchy weed, and you were seeing music, I don't think he would have been able to drive, or she would have been able to cook. I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
just saying.
I don't know. But apparently he drove all the way down there and all that shit. So whatever, that happened. You know,
He
he
doesn't know how he
survived.
got there or how all of those kids ended up on his, windshield, but he got there.
Um, yeah, I don't know
Oh.
either. That's
And,
that's the
and Hansel's main thing through this was just clicking annoying pictures with his camera, just
yeah.
annoying his sister and everything by just click, click. And it's like he wasn't even like actually taking pictures or focusing the camera. It was just
Well, it was supposed to come back later when he took the picture of her, and it
right. And
caught
that's
what she
where
actually
they
looked like.
that's where they linked it in order to show like her true image and stuff. But I was like, but it was a little lazy to me where he literally was just taking that style of camera and just like throwing it up and clicking it real fast and throwing it down. I was like, that's not really how those cameras quite work. So
And
it was just one of those like, okay, so where does the camera play in? All right, it played in for 1 minute where it showed him what she looked like.
but I
I
did
don't know
like
if that was worth it.
the line where she said, the camera doesn't lie, or whatever. I guess the
Mhm.
camera really doesn't lie. And I like
Right.
that because that's, typically that's what they say is like the camera doesn't lie. So to
Right.
actually have it show her true self, what she looked like, which really like, freaked Hansel out and,
Oh yeah.
obviously. And then that
She got so defensive the minute she heard that camera click.
I was
She knew.
I, I was getting worried that something bad was gonna happen to that dog, period, and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I mean, I don't, me, and we've talked about this on
Yeah,
many,
we talked
many.
about it several times. Yeah, usually if there's anything towards animals, like we don't watch the movie.
I mean, even if the animal is a Doberman that's going to kill the people or whatever, well,
Apparently he's Cerberus.
he's what?
Apparently he was Cerberus.
Cerberus?
Cerberus, the three-headed
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
yeah. So they had to sing to it, and everything, and
well, they she tried to rap to it, and then
at
the
first
other
the girl
one
tried to.
sang to it. And that was a little funny. It
Well,
didn't take her very long into singing before it was just like, nope, nope, I've had enough. I'm done.
Yeah, it was so funny because she was like singing, she was doing the rapping, and then she was like, "That's not
Yeah.
singing," and then you got a terrible voice, blah blah blah, and she was like, "Well,
Because
why
I
don't
was
you do
kind of
it?"
hoping for a little more like explanation about the dog, like because obviously it was supernatural. Its eyes would glow red. It listened to her, and then they threw the whole Cerberus thing at it, where you had to lullaby it to sleep. I'm like,
How do they know that?
huh. She studied Greek mythology very well in school,
But
like most of us, I guess.
how do you get that from a dog? Like, how do you get that from that? Like, how do you just go, "Yeah, that's that,"
Yeah, like I don't know how she assumed or knew it was Cerberus. Like I can understand her knowing the
That guy
folklore,
confused me.
but
After like a little bit, I was like, I'm almost checking out of this movie because,
and then
like,
well, maybe they just know that because okay, so they don't really emphasize on it, and you don't know like what are they in like a world like ours where this is supernatural to them? Or are they in a magical world where this is kind of normal? And if so, they should have known better because in the opening scene when like they show that their parents are away, it's like, oh, we've gone to visit the Stiltskins, like
right.
Rumpelstiltskin. So
Well,
you're just
no.
like,
Well, yeah.
okay, so is everybody in this gonna be like a fantasy, like fairy tale, like family type thing? So is magic something they're used to here, or is it something abnormal and weird?
Okay, so it's a fairy tale land, but
Has to
I
be.
don't think that they know that there's like magic
Yeah,
necessarily.
I don't
Uh,
think so either. Like it was very confusing. Like I get what they were trying to do by being like, "Oh, we're gonna go see the Stiltskins. We're Hansel and Gretel, and our parents are gonna go see, Rumpelstiltskin." Like, but that was really the only like fairy tale esque,
I would have
that they
loved
had.
more of that. Like that would have been cool if they just
Yeah, if they
dropped
would have had a lot of the other characters also be fable characters, I think that would have helped a
like
little
if
bit.
Rumpelstiltskin was his friend, or whatever, like Hansel's friend that came over, and stuff
Right,
like it.
something.
What was Rumpelstiltskin? He was like a
He was the one that weaved like the straw and hay into gold.
right.
And you had to say his name or something like that. You had to know his name.
Okay,
Um,
like you had to, is it like Bloody Mary where you have to say his name a certain amount of times and then he
I
appears?
I don't quite remember.
It's
Because I
been a
used to
while
watch
since I,
that show Once
yeah.
Upon a Time that had Rumpelstiltskin in it. It was the guy that was in the that 28 Days Later or whatever, I think. Uh,
Oh, it's not Cillian Murphy, is it?
but that show was actually pretty cool. So I used to see Rumpelstiltskin in that a lot. And I know like he used to make gold out of like I don't know what he spun, if it was like thread or like a grain of some sort, but I know he used to spin gold
Oh,
um and some stuff like that. But so
interesting.
I'm
So
just assuming like maybe in their world they know more fairy tale stuff, so maybe that's why she just knew it was a Cerberus. But then she also recited like she knew because she knew of like something she studied before, which would make it seem not normal in their world, but fiction. So it had a very confusing storyline. But then again, like I said, stoner movie.
yeah. Wow, okay, so Robert Carlyle played Rumpelstiltskin in the Once Upon a Time. And he was in 28 Weeks Later
That's what it
and
was. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. I definitely I have to watch Once Upon a Time. I watched the pilot for it a couple times. And I never got past the pilot,
It's on
you
a
know.
lot more streaming services now, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. Like I like worlds where the world where like everybody's a fairy tale. Like the Asylum made these Snow White and
Hmm.
but it was called Avengers Grimm. So it was literally like supposed to be like the Avengers, but with
Hmm.
like Grimm fairy tale, like Cinderella, Snow
Yeah, the
White,
Grimm
all
mashups are always pretty funny.
yeah, and they're
Not funny per se, but like not funny. I didn't mean to say funny, but like
well,
interesting
sometimes
and
they're
cool and
funny.
good. Yeah, some of them can be.
Yeah, just because it's just like, the fuck are they doing? What is going on here? But no, I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed uh like I enjoy fairy tales. Like fairy tales are one of my I grew up on
Yeah, it
fairy
would have
tales.
been nice to see that incorporated a little more since it was Hansel and Gretel. And it, like I said, it really should have just been like Gretel looks for her boyfriend. But,
Yeah,
Gretel really was the main focus. I would say the lead, the star, and the whole thing.
I
She
mean,
went on this adventure, and in the end, I guess she made it out. Um, and but poor Ash did not.
I know, and by the way, once again, the title is very misleading because it says Hansel and Gretel get baked, but
But
Hansel
yeah,
doesn't get baked.
he doesn't smoke. So
He
technically,
doesn't smoke, he doesn't get baked, and he doesn't get baked because he didn't get doesn't get fried at the
yeah,
thing. So there's no
I
actual
did
baking for him.
I did expect them both to like get baked, like to get stoned
Like
together. Like it'd be a
why?
Hansel and Gretel eventually. Like, instead of her boyfriend, I thought it was going to be Hansel and her like maybe smoking out, and then maybe if he went missing and she was trying to find him, that would have made more sense. So I'm
Yeah, but
not sure
then
why his character kind of was a letdown.
I guess they had the Ashton character because then they can kill him off, and
Right.
you're not supposed to you don't really care as much for him
Right.
as you
Well,
care
maybe
for
the
Hansel.
boyfriend and her brother and her all got baked, and the boys went out to this place to get weed while and she had to go find them, and the boyfriend got killed, but she rescued her brother.
Yeah.
Like he could have been more involved. Instead, he was pretty straight edge. He was like, "Nope, not doing it."
Wasn't there was a Hansel and Gretel like movie like where it's like witch hunters or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, that one is actually pretty good. I've seen that one quite a few times. I think I had that
Yeah,
one.
Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton. But anyway, both of them are in it and they're wonderful. I enjoyed
Hmm.
that because it took it was like Van Helsing, but
Right.
with that where it's like they're now like these witch hunters
Hmm.
and it makes sense, right?
Right.
Like, because they've already they they killed the like what are they gonna do after they've already killed the one witch. They're now
Right.
going to become witch hunters, stop, doing what they can to stop. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But when this was probably made like right after that, right? Like when was that? Yeah, same year. So this
So
was
maybe
basically a
this was
knockoff of
the
this.
B movie knockoff.
Yeah,
They're
this is
like, Hansel and Gretel's really popular right now. Everybody's searching that name because of this movie, so let's do a stoner Hansel and Gretel.
a
It could have been.
stoner horror comedy version, I guess, without much horror. It wasn't very scary.
It wasn't very
Um,
scary, but I would throw in the horror because like they did, you know, get eaten, turn into monsters, and there was some horror aspects. to it in a
And
sense.
the funny thing is you picked it because I showed you what was like listed on
Hmm.
Tubi. When I went to Tubi, I looked up horror comedy, and this is one of the ones that popped up. This was not a comedy, you know.
Yeah, I
This
didn't laugh very much.
I know. They had ample time. The comedies that I liked were Lachlan Monroe as cop,
Mhm.
where
Hmm.
he's like, priorities, and he's going into a donut shop. That still made me laugh. I
Yeah.
could laugh
There
because
was some chuckles. There were some light chuckles.
even though that's a very cliche thing, is to have the cop go into a donut shop.
Right.
Just reminded me, because have you ever seen Dead Man on Campus?
I can't remember. I know you posted it the other day. I
Yeah.
want to say I have at least once, but it's been a while.
There was a line where he actually said to a cop, he goes, "Hey there, piggy." And it's so funny that that character, like an actor,
Yeah.
played that kind of character is now being the piggy,
Yeah.
and everything like that. Like it's nice to see him play different roles.
And I want to say there was a movie recently I saw where he played the dad, and I want to say it was that one on Amazon that was like from the like where she goes back to the 80s, like totally 80
Oh,
something
totally
or
80s.
whatever.
Yes, I
Yeah,
think he
was
was
that
in
it?
that movie.
I think
Yeah.
he was her dad in that.
Was that Amazon that put that out? Oh, I gotta watch
Yeah.
that. I gotta watch
Where
that.
she, like she ends up on the carnival thing that sends her back in time to where the murderer was like taking like serial killer thing was happening. I
Totally
want to say I
Killer.
saw him as the dad in that.
Totally Killer was the title.
Totally Killer,
And
that's what it was.
it had him as the adult Blake Hughes,
Yes.
So so the father, I guess, but I guess they showed the father younger or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
because it was her dad, like her father, and then when she went back in time, it was him when he was in high school.
hmm, very
So
cool.
yeah, but yeah, I remember seeing his face, and that was the most recent movie I've seen that actor in, and I like him and everything he's done. Like he's a pretty funny guy.
He is, and you heard my story, so
Hmm.
I
Nice
don't
guy
think
too,
I'll
apparently.
ever I'll ever forget that,
Good.
which I think more celebrities should do that. Period. Should always do
Hmm.
that for everybody because you just don't know who and a lot of times people go to these horror conventions and they have a terrible time with the person or
Hmm.
whatever. And maybe they caught them on a bad day, or maybe that
Right.
person is a
But being
dick.
a little humble does go a long way with your fans.
Yeah, just be nice.
Hmm.
Your fans will thank you for it. But aside from that, I enjoy the movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I hated it, but I wouldn't say that I loved it. Like, I guess I feel like if you were stoned, it may have been better. Um, because it's not that it was extremely horrible. I just feel like the story in general had a lot of holes that maybe if you were baked, you wouldn't have noticed.
I think I would have
Um,
been very like if already started getting baked before watching the movie, and then they talked about baking stuff. I would have got really hungry and not wanted to watch
right,
the
start
movie.
start eating gingerbread cookies, or I would be so paranoid that the sweet old drug dealer was gonna eat me.
I so I didn't really do drugs much in my life. Like I've done
Mhm.
some like things like just once, and then I never did like heroin. I never did cocaine. I did do not acid. I did shrooms. Never did acid,
Mhm.
but I did shrooms, and shrooms fucked me up.
Oh
Like
yeah, they
that's why
can.
like one of my friends was like, if shrooms fucked you up, I'm never giving you acid.
Yeah,
Like
no,
that would,
don't.
And I was very glad like he said that because I said I don't want anything. Well, after
Yeah,
like this bad trip I had with it, I never did that. So I was never like alcohol was my drug of choice. And then I became an alcoholic, and now I'm in recovery for alcoholism for
right.
over 10 years. So, it's one of those things where I never did that. And then when I got in recovery for alcohol, I had to choose to not do any recreational drugs because like the point of it is to not do because if I did, like, say I did pot, I may
Mhm.
stumble and go do,
Right.
drinking because I'm not
Because you're
thinking.
not thinking clearly and you could be vulnerable to things.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
which
would
is
not
like
want to put
I
myself in
used to
that.
I used to smoke some weed, but I didn't like being vulnerable to my surroundings. So I'm very picky, and now I'll just kind of use it for like medical use every now and then. But so I do have enough experience to say we're laying in bed stoned to this movie, like baked to this movie, eating like a bunch of junk food, like especially with some friends. I think that would be fun and funny.
I
That
can
would
see
make
you
it more
doing that.
enjoyable. That would make
I,
it more enjoyable.
the funny thing is I have this on Blu-ray. I got it like the Dollar Tree, I think,
Mhm,
for Blu-ray.
mhm.
I did watch the Tubi, even though I have it on Blu-ray. I'd still watch the Tubi version because, it's just easier. Plus, you were watching
Right,
that, so if there was like a difference between the one
right,
or
right.
two,
Because
I didn't
sometimes
want to.
there is.
Sometimes there is. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but I will say I watched this movie by myself, and sometimes when I watch movies by myself, especially if it's like homework for something, like it's a little harder to get in the mood for it. And maybe if I would have watched it with other people, like it would have been a little more exciting. I just didn't want to get distracted. But because what I love to do those Mystery Science 3000 movies, like so I like to sit there with movies like this and just kind of like rip everything apart. And to me, I make myself the comedian. I make the movie funny by being me. So
right.
it's like I could
Remember,
add a lot of comic value to this movie sitting there with somebody else going, "Did you see this shit?" Than
yeah.
actually watching the movie by myself.
Remember when we were at Paul's house
Mhm.
doing Indie Film Cafe with you, me, G, Larry Butler, Cody, and
Mhm.
Paul, and we were watching the
The Flesh
Fle-
Gordon.
Flesh
And I
Gordon one.
liked it.
Yeah,
I
but
feel
you
like
had a
if I
fun
would've
time
watched it by
talking about it.
myself if I would've watched it by myself, I feel like I would've been like, "This is stupid, I'm not in the mood." But I
Right.
feel like because I was watching it with friends and with people that I can conversate with, it really helps, digest the movie a little bit. But I thought
I
it was a funny movie, I enjoyed it.
I agree, and that's a lot of what Paul tries to strive to, like he wants us to do in the studio more than Zoom,
Mhm.
right? Because like when you're together with somebody watching the movie, it's a little bit different.
It is different. You're
You know,
feeding off of each other's like I'm a big empath. You feed off each other's emotions and stuff too, and you could actually work through like what you're thinking, like or, like the processes of why did that happen, or that was stupid, or that was funny, and like I think watching things like this as a group has a lot more like yield of it being a good experience for you than just kind of sitting there watching it yourself.
I agree, and that's the thing with uh that was the thing that basically when we watched when we would watch. I don't know. Like the biggest problem with it was that we don't have video, right? So we'd watch at the studio, we don't have internet, so we don't have video of us watching it and everything like that. So when I put it on TikTok, all the clips from
Mhm.
the stuff, I can't put like I would have to put just audio clips from the podcast onto TikTok, and I can't put the video clips. And I'm very OCD for that kind of stuff. Not OCD for everything else, but like for like organizing my
Right.
podcast or my movie stuff or whatever. I would for my TikTok, I have it where it's like it'll be Indie Film Cafe. I don't know if you've ever I think you've seen the TikTok because I think I've sent it to you before, but for Indie Film Cafe it'll be Indie Film Cafe and this will be on a clip of this will be on TikTok or whatever later.
Mhm.
But was it it'll be like Indie Film Cafe video, then it'll be like some other stuff, then two other things. The next day it'll be Indie Film Cafe podcast, then two other things, and each different thing it'll be like podcast, video, podcast, video, podcast video, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it switches up like that. And I would go crazy because, if when we did uh that the Flesh ones or the Flesh Gordon one, it yeah, I can't I can only put it as a clip or whatever. I can't do I wouldn't be able to do
Yeah,
a
it's nice
video.
when you have both, when you can have an audio and a visual and be able to choose back and forth. And it's kind of hard sometimes, I know, when you just have one or the other.
Yep.
Um,
But
we'll have to
that
get you a hotspot for for Wi-Fi and whatnot in the studio.
well, we're hoping that we can eventually move to a better place around that area around in Fort Monroe, but we'll see. Because right now there's an issue with the Wi-Fi, and stuff. So I don't know. I just work there, I just do the podcast there. I don't try to fight anything on there, because we're getting everything for free. So,
Right. Well, and
I'm
like
not
you said, even though you own this, they did have it on Tubi, which was good because that means I didn't have to worry about where I was going to watch it. So if
exactly.
like if you watch this, you should have already have seen it, otherwise you spoiled it. But if you haven't or you want to
Oh, we
watch it
spoiled
again,
it in
it
the
is
fucking
on Tubi.
beginning. I think the first 10 minutes we spoiled the shit out of it.
Oh yeah, no, we always, if you're listening to this, it's always you've already seen it.
Well,
But if
I
you
hope
wanted to
so.
watch it again, and notice some of these things we talked about, like it is on Tubi.
It is on Tubi, and that is what what I strive to do for 31 Days of Indie Horror is do movies that are on Tubi. Even though I
Mhm.
do other shows, we have Tubi Thursday, and there's so many horror films on Tubi
There
that I
really
don't
are.
think
I did notice when I was going through Tubi, there's a ton of, especially older horror movies.
I know.
A lot of old good ones to catch up on. You have to deal
Yeah,
with a little bit of commercial, but it's actually not bad for a pre-platform.
I can't wait to have you. Well, we're gonna have you come back eventually for Indie Film Cafe, but I know you've been busy a lot lately and everything. So I was very happy that you said yes to this, and
Yeah.
everything.
A lot of it too is like anxiety and health and stuff like that. So on a day where I'm feeling up to it, I'm glad to be able to be back on the show.
Definitely. And we'll definitely have you back on. Paul wants to do another movie with you. He had a blast with Faster Pussycat Kill Kill with you and Flesh Gordon. So
Mhm.
he loves to kind of like I guess the more sexual ones, I guess, that a lot of people won't watch.
Yeah.
Uh
I don't mind a good sexploitation film or stuff like that. So he does like to pick some of the like weird, more obscure ones. Like we
yeah.
did watch that one where it was two different movies. It was basically an old one from like the 40s or 50s that was clipped with another one from a different time, and it was like the native people of something. So it was like two different things clipped together. That one was interesting.
Wasn't that like
It was like vampires. They turned it into like a vampire sucking monster type thing from space or something, but like
hmm,
it was like a mashup of two movies.
I know what you're talking
One that
about.
got put on the shelf forever, and then they pulled it off the shelf and tried to clip it with something else and make it into something. And that was an interesting movie.
Whoa, he just
I'll have to
updated.
dig around for some movie ideas to throw his way, maybe. So he
Uh
doesn't surprise me with, something interesting.
oh, that's gonna happen regardless. Like that's just how he is.
I
I'm
want a
trying.
multiple choice like you gave me of pick one of these three.
I know. Well, he's not like unless you do it with if you do it in person, you don't get that because he likes to surprise everybody. But
Yeah.
if he's doing it where you have to watch it on your own like
Hmm.
like this, then yeah. I'm trying to think of what exactly you were talking about
I want to
because
say it started with a T.
a T.
It was like 2 years ago, so
Okay, hold on. Trying to find where you were.
because I think a spaceship landed on a planet and there's like native people, like cave people, and they ended up being like vampire type people or monsters of some
Oh, you
sort.
talking about Tropical Vampire?
No, there was another one.
Yeah, so that
I,
was
I don't I don't think it was Tropical Vampire, but it may have been.
there was one called Tropical Vampire that you did. Trying to see which one's the other one you were in
Because there
with.
was another vampire movie that we did too.
Yeah, let me
But
see.
yeah, no, there's always some interesting
Oh,
movies.
Horror of the Blood Monsters. Is
Oh
that it?
yeah, yeah, that
Okay.
was it.
Yeah. Oh Lord. A lot of these I don't I remember maybe the title, like I remember the title existing, but I
You
don't
do a lot
remember.
of podcasts too, though.
I know, and the funny thing is we'll like we'll start them from like September now. So then
Hmm.
like so that we're finished by July and everything. So that it was normally so we could take a month off for August, but we ain't doing that. I think we might take a month off in November this year, but anyway, the point is like we were we were doing these things and uh I would be like, wait, what was that? We did that? Like what was that movie? And I wouldn't even remember it, you know? And it sucks when we have to
It's
do a
almost as
recap.
if you were banked. You just don't remember the movies.
I mean, it's because we watched so many and then we did it so long ago, then
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I
oh
have to
God.
keep list of what I watched to just remind myself, you know.
Joe Turk's got a list, and the funniest thing about his list is he'll have the list, and then he'll ask me about this, and stuff like which one did I do this one on, and I'll be like, I have to look that up because I don't remember like myself either. Like, you can't ask me this shit. I'll be like, because we have so many shows too, so we'll be like,
Right.
what the fuck Friday
You need
or
a whole day planner.
oh man. You need to be on What the Fuck Friday. Now, if you really want like something that just like confuses the fuck out of you or whatever, Paul's got it, you know. Um
I'm sure he does.
yeah. All right. Well, I think that's about it. That about wraps it up. We had a great I mean, like I said, I enjoyed it. Am I happy I own it on Blu-ray? I mean, I guess. I mean, I'm not gonna get rid of it,
Yeah,
or
you got that at the
anything.
dollar store, so you're fine.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get rid of it, but I don't know like if I'm gonna be like, yeah, let me go watch Hansel and Gretel get baked again. I'm
Right.
like,
Now, if you have a friend that likes to smoke, you may let them borrow it and watch it while they get stoned, and maybe they'll
I
have a good time with it, you know?
I don't let anybody borrow my shit anymore.
I don't blame you. I don't.
Especially not stoners.
You're right. Just saying, since it's a dollar DVD you don't care about.
I care. I mean, I still care about everything in my collection. I still
You have a huge like collection. You guys are gonna need a bigger space for all these movies.
I know.
But yeah, I do agree. It wasn't the worst movie, wasn't the best movie. I wouldn't spend money to watch it or own it. But you know, if it was an option to watch on Tubi, or if my friend like you had it and wanted to sit down and watch it, just make sure you grab a bowl of munchies, you know, and sit back for this really
I'll
interesting,
tell my
confusing
friends to do
ride.
that because, and I'll watch it sober and they can watch it high as shit and stuff. And I can laugh at them going, "Oh my God, that happened. Oh my God, that happened."
There's
No,
always that one friend who's like, "Oh my God, did you see that?" And you're like, "Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I did, Ted. It's fine."
it's not a big deal. Oh my God, that was crazy.
I have those friends.
Yeah, but
Love them to pieces, but yes.
but yes.
All
Oh,
right,
and
but
he said a
anyways, do you have
specific
any
name. You had a
what?
specific name too, by the way. You said Ted. So I'm wondering if there
Oh
is a
yeah,
Ted that.
I like to throw in my comedical like fake names, you know.
Okay, it's a fake name. Okay, good.
Yeah, no, I
There
don't
is
know
no.
anybody named Ted. Ted is one of those names that you can usually say in a bit of comedy, and there's not that many people named Ted, so
Oh, there's Ted. I know a few Teds.
not everybody can be a Jonathan.
No, Jonathan's actually a lot. I haven't seen as many Jonathans as I've seen Teds. Just saying. And I've seen a lot more Sarahs than any
Maybe
of them.
that's the difference between Texas
In
and
Virginia,
Virginia.
a lot more Teds in
We
Virginia.
got a lot of Jonathans, a lot.
Yeah, there you go. So a lot more Maybe I should be in Texas. Maybe and I don't know.
I
All
know it's
right.
not worth it. I wouldn't.
So what have you been up to?
Anyways, huh?
What have you been up to?
Trying not to go outside because it's Texas. Texas is trying to kill you every time you go outside.
Is this too hot?
Lately it's already up into the high 80s, almost 90s. And not to mention I live in the capital, which is one of the busiest, like overpopulated cities there is. So you
Oh.
can't really go outside without just being elbow to elbow and in the heat. So yeah,
Ooh,
I'm
wow.
watching movies and playing video games and going to concerts. That's about my day.
That's good. That
It's
sounds
not a bad life, I'll tell you what.
that's not a bad life. And are you still doing your OnlyFans?
I am. I do about one set a month because it just becomes a lot. But I do have that, and it is Virginia Church. If you want to look that up, if you want to look up my Instagram, it's official Virginia Church. But usually, if you just look up Virginia Church anywhere, whether it's Facebook, OnlyFans, Pornhub, wherever, like you'll find me.
Pornhub.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Pornhub's been a banished in
It has,
Virginia.
well, it's because they set a lot of new laws to try to keep minors off the page and keep everybody safe. So they're doing a lot of verification things, which since I have a user profile, I got verified and I can still access mine. But if you have a what is it, a VPN or whatever, where you can change your
VPN,
location.
yeah.
VPN. If you have a VPN, you'll be fine. Just don't be in Texas. And if you create an account that's verified, you'll be fine as well. It's
Yeah,
just mainly keeping people who shouldn't be there, away.
there you go. Well, everybody over there, check out Virginia Church and check out
Mhm.
Sarah Atkins and thank you, Sarah. I definitely want you to come back next season.
Yes.
We'll figure an even funnier one because
Yeah.
for a horror comedy, this wasn't very
It
comedic.
wasn't very funny, but again, we're also sober and there were plot holes. But
Yeah, maybe
lots of
you're
things to pick at.
overthinking a
Uh,
movie
uh,
like
and
this.
weed would really help the overthinking. So next time, maybe I'll watch it a little influenced. Maybe that'll help.
I might even let you pick it. Um, I might be nice. I don't know.
Right?
I
I need to get a list of movies and see if you approve of any of them.
Yeah,
But
you'll
either way,
just do what
I'm
I did,
glad.
just
Yeah.
send me the ones you'd want to watch and I'll pick one of those and then
Right, because I'd like to enjoy the movie too instead of coming on and ragging on every movie. I don't want to be that person.
I know. I mean, we did that sort of with Ghost of Goldfield, but like I chatted with one of the girls from it, as I've told you before, and she
Hmm.
even said there was just a lot of problems with the
Yeah.
movie, and it wasn't like the filmmaker's fault necessarily. It's just like things just happened, and
Right.
shit, and it just didn't make it. And
And
the
stuff like that happens.
well,
But
I
I actually went and bought a bunch of hard copy movies lately, so I'll have to show you what I got. Maybe we could pick something out. But
yeah,
I'm glad you gave me a multiple choice this time, and I'm glad I picked something a little out of my wheelhouse so we could talk about it. And we'll have to pick another banger for next time.
definitely. All right, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Join me tomorrow for a brand new episode. And until then, everybody, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.